9 games on Wednesday in the NBA, and we've got a resolution to the, well, sort of, a resolution to the Draymond Green situation. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and it's the perfect weather for a Zupa Duper. And I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com. And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok, at redrock_bball, and on Instagram, at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers can get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 if your team wins. Go to fanduel.com/lockedon to get started. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Here we are. It is Wednesday, my dudes. We've got 9 games to go through. We have got interesting things to talk about. We've got news. We've got lines of the night, you know, how it cracks on. All right, we might as well just, what are we waiting for? We've got stuff to talk about. We'll get into it right now. Where are we? Yeah, that's where we're at. Sorry, I'm just lost in my own thoughts. Let's talk news, because we did get the news. Draymond Green has been suspended indefinitely. I came on this show yesterday and said it is definitely going to be more than 5 games. I suggested 20, and I thought the NBA would do 10. Indefinite doesn't tell us anything. I think what it does definitely tell us is that it's more than 5. And there are a lot of people that will go back and have. Look at the last time the NBA suspended guys indefinitely. How long was it out? Kyrie was indefinite. That was 8 games, although I believe that was the Brooklyn Nets that suspended Kyrie. Malik Monk was suspended indefinitely for drug use. That was 8 games. But that really, I don't think, has any correlation to this. Because the indefinite thing is, like, he's got to pass a bunch of certain things, like he's got to undergo counseling and all this sort of thing. But there's still an inbuilt level of punishment that they're going to hand down. And this is not like a first-time situation for Draymond. So he's not coming back in 2 games or 3 games or 5 games. 10 maybe. I think we're out until January here at least. And honestly, I don't know. It is frustrating that we don't get anything more specific on a time frame here for Draymond to come back, but that's what we know. We know that he's out. We know that it's out indefinite. I'm going to guarantee you that it's more than 5 games. It's going to be more than likely more than 10. I would say it pushes to 20 into January, would be my guess. But I don't know, because they haven't told us, and there's all these vague terminology things and things that we just aren't going to be privy to know what it takes for him to come back. So there are 2 questions that you are going to have. Interestingly, what I noticed, this happens a lot in fantasy, is people wait so often for things to happen. Oh, who do I add now? Like, bro, we knew this was happening yesterday. All of my leagues, all the guys are gone already. That's why we try and be proactive here to go and add guys in advance. That's a separate point. We'll get to that. We'll get to that in a second. But first question is, what do you do? What do you do with Draymond Green?
Get that garbage out of here! 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 Josh, I hope that helps. All the best.
Thanks, Jack. Yeah, I think you can drop him. In fact, you can jack him off. I don't see the point of this. We don't know how long he's going to be out. In a lot of cases, he won't be eligible for your injured slot. Just move on. The interesting thing here for the Warriors is I believe the biggest thing that's going to change for the Warriors is what they do with Wiggins and Clay, not necessarily Draymond. Draymond's important, but I think they'll just put Chris Paul into the starting lineup. They might not, but I think they will. What sort of league you're in is important as well. I would love for them to give 30 minutes to Kuminga, 30 minutes to Pajemski, 30 minutes to Moses Moody. But there's no guarantee of any of those things happening. And again, the 240 game, unless they significantly cut Clay and Wiggins down, becomes quite difficult to get all of those guys to enough minutes. You could say easily there's a clear path for Kuminga to start in place of Draymond. They probably should be starting Saric instead of Kevon Looney, but maybe with Draymond out, Looney is able to hold his role because they need him more. But there's no direct Podziemski starting role here. There's no direct Moody starting role unless this cascades into a Wiggins demotion, a Wiggins permanent minutes drop, or a Clay permanent minutes drop. I would still be adding Saric, Podziemski, and Kuminga. What order? I honestly couldn't tell you because I don't know. I don't know how they're going to run it. They are all close enough. And I think what is going to end up happening is that not one of those guys is going to completely dominate and blow us away as a top 100 player. I don't know that happens. I would probably, in a points league especially, put my money on Kuminga because there's a little bit of positional similarity. But I don't know otherwise. I'd also watch for Trace Jackson-Davis in deep leagues in case they just say, nothing's working here, Green's out, we're going to bench Looney, let's try a few different things. So that's possible. But a lot of it is going to hinge, I think, on Wiggins versus just the Draymond suspension. In all of my leagues, I have got those three players, Saric, Podziemski, and Kuminga. Not in all of them. I'm in like 8 leagues. In 2 of them, I've got Saric, 2 of them, I've got Podziemski, and 2 of them, I've got Kuminga. And I already had them before today, before this news came down. But this happens often. People, like, there'll be someone who's out for 3 games, and then you'll get the news he's actually out for 2 months. You go, well, who do I add now? Like, we've already seen what's been going on. You've got to be more proactive with these moves. That's why streaming slots and all that is really, really valuable. Drop a guy, add someone, see what happens. That's what we've been saying with Kuminga for the last 5 days. It's what we said yesterday with Podziemski and to a lesser extent Saric yesterday. Saric. You got to be more proactive with it. And again, I don't know. I probably would look at Kuminga first, but I'm not going to be really, really strict or adamant about which one of these guys out of Kuminga, Saric, and Podziemski who is going to be the best option there. It is really tough, and a lot of it is going to come down to Wiggins. We heard yesterday that Paul George was kept out of that game as precautionary, and he was fine to come back in, and what I did say was, yeah, they said the same bullshit last year when he had the hamstring injury, and then he missed time, and then came back too early and missed more time. And guess what happened today? Paul George is officially questionable. So there was lying happening very clearly. You do not appear questionable for a game 2 days later if you were fine to return to that game 2 days prior. That is what the worry is here. I don't know that he's going to miss. Maybe he's fine. But players and coaches, especially these 2 players and coaches, Lou and George, they lie out of their ass straight away when that happens. There is a clear pattern, and the exact same thing happened. If he is out, Powell gets a boost, Westbrook gets a small boost, Mann gets somewhat of a boost, but Powell's probably the guy I look at. I know a lot of people are up in arms about Taj Gibson. There's a lot of jokes you can make. I get it. I don't think Taj Gibson's going to start. I don't think Tom Thibodeau is going to run a 3-center rotation. I think that he's just emergency because they have no other big men. And it's just because if Sims or Hartenstein get hurt, there's nobody else. And we can make jokes about Tibbs, but remember, this man cut Derrick Rose out of his rotation last season because he was washed. So I don't think it's like, oh man, we've got Taj back. We've got to go and start him and play in big minutes. I know a lot of it is jokes, but don't let it dissuade you. I could be wrong. Maybe he does go in and put Taj into big minutes, the 36-year-old who's not on an NBA team. Maybe he does that. Seems very unlikely. For as much as we clown on the bloke, he's not that dumb. But we will pay attention to it, of course, and we'll see which direction we go. Some positive news in Orlando. Fultz and Carter are partial participants in practice. That means their return is coming soon. So you might, like if you did want to move on from Goga or Mo Wagner, now's a good time. I would still hold Cole Anthony and Suggs, obviously. Jeremy Grant's out. No one's shocked with that. Talked about that on the show earlier today. And Evan Mobley out again with his knee problem. That's a real concern. Hopefully it's not too long. But another game missed with knee soreness. No one really benefits that's available on waiver wires. But it is, of course, something we need to pay attention to. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. As the weather gets colder, the offers on FanDuel, they are so warm. They are unbelievable. The thermostat is pumping up. What's a hot number? 100? 130? I don't know how Fahrenheit works, but I know how FanDuel works. New customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. The app is so easy to use. There's a wide range of betting options, including spreads and player props, over-unders, parlays. It's all there over at FanDuel. You can bet on the futures. Who do you think is going to win the NBA title? The MVP. It is all over there on FanDuel. So go to FanDuel.com/lockedon and get ready to get into the NBA season. FanDuel is also an official partner of the NFL, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Okay, that is the news done because they're the news parts. Again, the green stuff is the most important, and I fear it might be a fizzer, and I feel there may not be a clear thing unless a Wiggins shoe drops. Unless. That's where I'm at with that. Where I'm at with the games is at game number 1. And predictably, the first 2 games involved 2 absolutely dreadful teams, and the results went probably exactly how you would expect them to. The Philadelphia 76ers, they went through and played the Detroit Pistons. Honestly, look at that score. You go, okay, it's not bad. It wasn't as close as what that score would suggest. 129 Philadelphia, 111 Detroit. Embiid had 41, 11, and 5 and continues to just dominate. Number 1 ranked player now this season. He's just killing it. And in points leagues too, I have 62 fantasy points a game. Crazy. The Thick Hogsman only played 26 minutes, but the big fella's back. 21 and 7 with 3 threes, while the Wave Pool played 21 minutes, 10 and 6, 1 steal, 2 blocks. Maxey had a rough night, 9 points on 15%, but he had 9 assists. And Batum played 20 minutes. We do a quick check on Kelly Oubre, and you'll look at that and you will celebrate it if you've got Kelly Oubre, but also remember it was 78% shooting. He did have 2 steals, but the same thing always remains with Oubre. He needs to be so far above an average shooter to maintain 12-team value, and I just don't think that happens regularly enough. We did get Covington back in the rotation here, 17 minutes, 5 and 6, but not enough for us to care about. It really is just the 5 guys with Batum as a deeper league option, and Oubre, again, a fringe 12-team player. The Pistons started the correct lineup again, and your mate, what do I even talk about this guy? Alf Stewart, Surf Club owning legend, ejection legend, Isaiah Stewart, 2 fouls early, ejected after 22 minutes, had 4 and 4. The nail is so far in that coffin of him being a starting player. It is not funny. I wish I could think of that meme joke. Anyway, the CIA couldn't get that nail out of that coffin of him being an NBA starter. It is done. It is cooked. He's finished. He's rooted. He's terrible. He won't get suspended here, I don't think, but he was ejected. 4 and 4 for Stewart in 22 minutes. Cool. Asar Thompson, 30 minutes, 10 and 8, 71%. That is 2 outstanding shooting nights that I don't buy for a single second, but it's good that he got them. While Bojan had 33. Last couple of games for Bojan have been a little bit slow, and Cade Cunningham's game was really weird. I think he missed his first 6 shots. He ended up with 21, 6, and 7, and shot just 29% overall, but went 10 of 12 from the line. So another solid game with weirdness involved. Jim Wiseman was forced into a few extra minutes. He played 16, while Killian Hayes had 6, 3, and 6 in 32. Hayes is very much a fringe 12-team league player, and he's one of the guys that if I had him, I'd be more than happy to move on to grab a Pajemski, a Kuminga, a Šarić. I just don't think Hayes has got upside or long-term viability. Stinker from Jaden Ivey, he was a minus 21. He had 7, 2, and 1. I still somewhat believe in Ivey, but also I don't care if you want to drop him. I will hold him in places of strength, but I will also drop him if there's someone else I need out there. It's too frustrating, man. It's just too much up and down for me to care about. Well, I care about it. Too much up and down for me to get worked up about. You said, Josh, you whinge about everything. I'm just not going to get worked up about Jaden Ivey. The Pelicans and the Wizards, 142 New Orleans, 122 Washington. There was no Zion, out with an ankle problem. And buy low bump legend, Trey Murphy, went sick. 27, 6, and 4, 2 steals, a block, 6 triples, 70% shooting, 7 of 8 from the line. What's the thing we noticed here? Oh yeah, Zion is out. This is what we talked about at length on the Buy Low show, is what he did last season was because so many guys are out. But what is super encouraging here, not the fact that Dyson Daniels started over him is not great, but it's 33 minutes. The shooting we knew was going to come back. He's an elite shooter. But usually it's just about minutes and usage. Can he get 33 when Zion plays? Seems unlikely. He is obviously must roster, but just be cautious with it. Ingram dropped in 40 with 2 rebounds, but good from the line and good from the field, while Valanciunas had 16 and 18. Good games all around. CJ, no defensive stats for all-defense legend McCollum. He had 22, 3, and 6 with 4 threes. Another really solid night for him. He has cooled slightly, but still putting up some really good games. And Herb Jones got into early foul trouble. The bench was putting up just insane numbers. He wasn't. He was a minus 17. Just a stinker from Herb. A couple of really bad ones in a row. At least he had 2 steals. Still remains a 12-team hold. In a points league, I'm not sure that he is a hold. You probably can, but in a 10-team points, absolutely. In fact, the new era starts in a 10-team points league. I just want to do it. What can you do with Herb Jones? Jack Armstrong.
Get that garbage out of here!
Oh, yeah. It's rolling. I should have done it on Isaiah Stewart. In fact, Isaiah, you get this one.
Get that garbage out of here!
For the Wizards. Anyway, Jordan Poole played 31 minutes. That's good. It's good news, yeah? 11, 1 and 4, 2 steals and a block. The last 3 numbers there are great. I love 4 assists, 2 steals and a block out of Jordan Poole. That's fantastic. 11 points, 24 usage, 12 shots, shithouse percentage, bad minutes. This guy continues to be so annoying. I am really getting close to jacking him off. I've got to push a few baddies out of the way to get there. I would still hold, but honestly, if you came to me now and said, Josh, I'm done, I'd be okay. The question is always going to be, will someone immediately snap and snap him up? Or who are you adding that makes more sense to do it? And those are questions you can ask and answer. Kuz had 27, 7 and 4, efficient, good bounce back. Talked about how his free throws have been weirdly down. Good to see him go 3 or 4 here. Avdia 13, 6 and 7, and Gaff played 24, 13, 6, 2 blocks. Couldn't literally ask for anything more. If Gafford was inadvertently or stupidly dropped, going at him. Bilal played 32, most minutes on the team. 16, 5, 1, 1, 1 with 4 threes. That's a great game from Koulibaly. If you want to get out ahead of it, I'm not quite there with Bilal. He's not a 67% shooter. He was low usage. He was a team worst minus 30. No, he wasn't, because Corey Kispert was a team worst minus 35. He was still bad, though, in terms of plus minus, Koulibaly. But we're just seeing a little trend up. He's a definite must in 14-team leagues, Bilal. But in 12s, I don't mind an ad. I don't mind it. It is trending a little bit. As for Tyus Jones, I just don't know what to do here. 6, 0 and 4, 26 minutes. I think he probably is a hold, but this whole team makes every decision about them absolutely agonizing. Jared Butler had 8 points in 13 minutes, for those of you who care, and that should be absolutely nobody. That'll bring us, I believe, I was going to say we'll bring us into the next game, but we won't go there just yet because I've got to tell you something. Today's episode is brought to you by David. Actually, not David. It's brought to you just by Dave. Finances can be so intimidating. That's why you need Dave. Dave can make managing your money so much easier with an interest-free, extra cash advance, fee-free goal tracking, and easy ways to find a side hustle to make more money. Dave is the banking app that is leveling the financial playing field. When you download Dave, you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check and no late fees. It's part of Dave's extra cash account. Advance the money that you need with no interest and then settle up later. Extra cash gives you more money to buy groceries, fill your tank, get your car repaired, catch up on bills, whatever it is, without having to wait for your next paycheck. So download Dave today at dave.com/lockedonnba. That is dave.com/lockedonnba. You can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less. No credit check, no late fees. Download the Dave app now or go to dave.com/lockedonnba. For terms and conditions, go to dave.com/legal. Eligibility criteria and instant transfer fees apply. Banking services provided by Evolve. Member FDIC. Thank you to the legends that explained to me what the FDIC was, or what the DIC, Dick, what that stood for in the comments of the last video. Thank you. Appreciate that. That'll bring us to Game 3. The Charlotte Hornets and the Miami Heat. The Heat win at 115-104. The Terry Rozier sell high is flying. 28, 3 and 7 with, now he's adding steals into it. Can this man stop? 4 steals, a block, 71%. There are the biggest signs of all time of a drop-off here. He's top 10 over the last 2 weeks. He's dominating. I 100% guarantee you he will not hold this. But there are 2 ways you can approach this. You sell high, and if you get a top 25 guy back, you thank your lucky stars. In all likelihood, you won't. You just won't do it. But there might be someone in your league who's like, yeah, LaMelo, made of glass, going to be injured all the time. Why not Rozier? Right? That might be a person. A dumb person, but might be a person. And then you trade him for a top 20 guy, top 25 guy. Otherwise, just enjoy what you're getting. There's no point selling him for a top 50 player or a top 60 player. None whatsoever. You just hold and enjoy it. It's great. Same with Gordon Hayward. Although I'd probably take a top 60 guy back for him, top 70. 20 and 5 with 7 assists, while at least Bridges' usage went up 31%. 19, 5 and 4 with 3 steals, and Brandon Miller had a pretty good game, 39 minutes. We're getting big minutes pumped in here by Steve Clifford. 18, 2 and 3, 2 steals. Also, what about Big Dick Nick? 40 minutes for the big fella. 60 and 10 with 4 blocks. As long as Mark Williams is out, we roll with him, because in other bad news, PJ Washington Jr. Left after 4 minutes, never returned. Shoulder issue. If he is out for any length of time, you drop him. What will end up happening here, though? This is the question. Like, who is going to be the guy that starts? It's probably going to be, I would guess, it's probably going to be JT Thor. It could be Bryce McGowan's, and then they push Bridges to the 4 with Hayward at the 3. That is a possible. Oh, sorry. No, what do they do? Miller's. It's Rozier, Miller. Oh no, Washington's off the bench. What am I even talking about? Yeah, you don't need to replace him to start because he doesn't start. So Thor will get his minutes, and you'll get more to McGowan's coming off the bench. And if he misses time, it'll be a Mark Williams, Nick Richards, all 48 minutes at center scenario. That's when Williams returns. On to the Miami Heat. The Heat, another big game from Dunk. If you dropped him after that worst game ever, you probably missed out on some good. Well, you definitely missed out on some good games. 23 points, 6 threes, 2 steals. We love this. We keep holding until it falls away. Jimmy Butler, 15, 6, and 10 in only 29 minutes. And Kyle Lowry had 17 with 2 steals and 4 threes. Another guy we keep rolling with. Good minutes for Jaquez. He played a lot in this one, 33 minutes, 17, 6, and 8. That's really good. We keep rolling with him again until those guys are out. But also remember, Josh Richardson missed in this one too. We also got 14 points in 29 minutes from Jamal Cain. That's how banged up this team was. I am moving off of Orlando Robinson. I think he's just getting cooked every game here. He's not playing well. 6 and 4 in 12 minutes, while Kevin Love had 3 and 9 on 11% shooting. We also got 16 minutes of Tom Bryant. That is 3 center splits are never a good idea. Robinson has some appeal, obviously. Love does as well. But relying upon it or guessing when it's going to work is becoming a harder thing. Caleb Barton had all the opportunity in the world. It did not work. 9, 6, and 4. He is still worth a hold. I don't fully believe he remains a 12-team must-roster player when guys return, but guys haven't returned, so we're not at that stage yet. Let's do the next one. It is the Atlanta Hawks and the Toronto Raptors. The Raptors at home in good old Canada get the win, 135-128. Trae Young returned for Atlanta. 39 minutes, 35, 4, and 17, 27 shots, an elite performance. DeJounte Murray was solid enough, 23 and 5 with 2 blocks and 4 threes. And Clint Capella had 17 and 10 in 34 minutes. Why did Capella play 34 minutes? Well, we got a lot of Onyeka Okongwu at power forward. 30 minutes, 13 points, 3 threes, 8 rebounds, 1 steal, 2 blocks. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that this justifies holding him, because one game does not. But what it does do is go, all right, we can still see some good stuff. The minutes have been really encouraging, and now we finally got the production. Obviously, there's no Hunter, no Jalen Johnson in this one, which meant they had to use those 2 together. Does this mean that they use them more together moving forward? I don't know. Onyeka Okongwu actually got dropped in industry pickup, and I think 7 of the teams bid on him. I think Mitch Casey ended up winning him the arsehole and gets him here and gets some big numbers out of him. He might have 5 and 6 in the next game. But this is a glimpse of why we're all like, yeah, let's hold. Like, he can still play. And that's good to see. Bogdanovic had 20 points, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, and 3 steals, while the depressed penis had 12 and 10 in 38 minutes. They started Wes Matthews. He played 14 minutes. I mean, that's not cool at all. And Garrison Matthews had 6 points and 19. It was just the 7 guys who did everything on this team that was banged up. But that's what happens when your roster is very, very, very top-heavy. Very top-heavy. For the Raptors, Scott Barnes, 27, 10, and 6 with a block and 3 threes and 79%. Had someone ask me, apologies to this guy, go, hey, wait, why do you call him Scotland? You should call him something else. Because his name's like Scott, and Scotland's just the extension of like, oh, what do you mean? What do you mean, well, they call him Scotland? He's just Scotland Barnes. Oh, Jesus Christ, I don't know. Anyway, good game from Barnesy. It's a great shooting night as well. While Siakam, we knew that there was going to be a turnaround in his 10% three-point shooting. He shot 83 in this one. 33, 7, and 7 with 5 threes. The buy-low bump, kicking on. Dennis Schroeder, 17, 3, and 7 in 37 minutes, while Anunoby had 22, 5, and 3. The Raptors could not miss. They shot 58% from the field in this game. That is antithetical to their usual production. Even Jakob Poeltl got in on the mix. 32 minutes to the big fella. 15, 13, 6, 3 blocks, 63% from the field. That's actually what you wanted from him when you drafted him. That's way above what you expected. Good stuff. Gaz Trent continues to suck. He had 12 points with 4 threes. Nothing else. We obviously do not roster Gaz Trent in 12s, while Achua had a couple of blocks with a 7 and 7. Nice enough 16-teamer. Interesting 12. No. Interesting 14 team. Sort of a stream guy, but that's probably about where we sit, I reckon, with old mate Gaz. Next game, the Lakers took on the Spurs. They beat them, and they were without LeBron James. I don't know why we had this whole song and dance about LeBron playing. It didn't feel like he was ever going to play. Amazingly, though, Anthony Davis did. 38 minutes on a back-to-back. Tweaked his groin yesterday. I can't believe he played. Hurt his ankle in the first 2 minutes of this one. Played through it. 37 and 10, 4 steals, Big numbers. Huge. While Reevesy, 29 minutes, 15, 4 and 8. I just want them to give him more minutes. I know he wasn't fantastic here, but I just want more. We got more from D'Angelo Russell because LeBron was out, 12, 3 and 10 with 3 steals, while Hachimura started and Rui Hachimura'd his way to 13 and 7, which is totally reasonable, but he's obviously not a 12-team league guy. Cam Reddish, the 3 steals and a block, this is what you have him for. If you have him, you had him for this back-to-back, and the first game wasn't great. The second one is pretty good, and now you can move on. 12, 2 and 3, 3 steals and a block, while Taurean Prince, back-to-back good games. Imagine that. That feels like we're getting 4 horsemen coming in. 17, 5 and 5, 4 threes, 2 steals and a block for the artist formerly known as Taurean Prince. We actually got 21 Christian Wood minutes, 9 and 6 for him with LeBron out. For the Spurs, Wembanyama fouled out, but he played 32 minutes, and this is a glimpse of what is going to be the best player in fantasy very soon. 30 and 13, 4 threes, 2 assists, 2 steals, 6 blocks, 52 from the field. That is just an enormous game. It is going to be... Where's he going to get drafted next season? Top 10 easily. This is the number 1 player for many years to come. Look, that's unbelievable. So game 20 and this is what we're getting? Oh no. It is Victor Wembanyama. Keldon Johnson, 28, 5 and 8. The assists from the Horseman have been very, very strong this season. Kudos to him. Love it. Devin Vassell, still not great. The buy low is open, but better. 13, 5 and 4 with 2 steals. And it was a second better game from Malachi Branham. Now, this one is a little different because it was just scoring that was efficient. 19 points on 62%. He had no assists after having 6 or 7 last game. He had a steal with 3 rebounds. And apart from last game, that has been the Branham scenario. He needs shots, and they need to go in at a well above expectation level, bit Cam Thomasy actually, for him to be successful. He's still just a deeper league guy, but it does feel he's going to stick in the starting lineup. Sohan had 5 points on 22%, which is obviously bad. He had 8 rebounds. 8 rebounds and 5 assists on 22%, but I don't think you need to hold him. In fact...
Get that garbage out of here!
Thanks, Jack. Trey Jones had 6 points with 5 assists, and I don't think we actually need to hold on to him either.
Get that garbage out of here!
That's Jack Armstrong. What a legend. Giving me all these different options or versions of the get this garbage out of here. What a legend he is. Not much else going on there for the Spurs, I don't think. But, that's not true because we've got Zach Collins. 19 minutes, 10 and 2. And it's a tough call because Zach Collins can be really good. But honestly, unless there is an injury, there is no way he is going back to starting. It's just not happening. They are not putting Victor Wembanyama back, not at center. I say that sounds very definitive because I can't be definitive because I am not Greg Popovich or his coaching staff. I don't talk to them. You'd be shocked to know that. I don't just ring Greg and go, bro, what's going on? I don't do that. So I can't be definitive. But it would seem very, very unlikely that Zach Collins is going to be anything more than a backup unless there's an injury. So, a backup who plays 19 minutes, 21 minutes. You know what they say?
Get that garbage out of here!
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we do. Now, that is always caveated. What size league are you in? 10s? Of course, get rid. 12? Probably. But who are you adding? We're in a great situation. If you are deciding a Kuminga, a Moody, a Pajemski, a Šarić, I think you make that move. But if they're not available and you're going, well, do I grab a... let's throw a random shitty name out there. Do I try a David Roddy? Then no, you don't. No, you don't. Do you try a, foreshadowing what's coming up next, or soon, do you try a Tari Eason? Very, very interesting. The answer there is probably yes. And we'll get to that game. Well, in fact, we'll just probably get there right now. All right, let's do it. The Grizzlies and the Rockets. The Rockets win this one, 117-104. Memphis made another change to their starting lineup. Santi Aldama went back to the bench. Bismack Biyombo went back to starting. And Vince Williams replaced Desmond Bane. Vince continues to be impressive. 28 minutes, 10 and 7 with 2 threes. He's a two-way guy. I don't think he'll stay a two-way guy all season. I don't think he's a 12-team guy at all, but he's an interesting, deeper league add for now. Jaren Jackson's just killing at the moment. Like, what a turnaround. 44, 7 and 2, 4 steals and a block with 3 threes. And 85 from the line and 80 on 13 attempts. It's amazing. Aldama, just the 16 minutes, 7 and 5 with 2 blocks. I don't think so.
Get that garbage out of here.
David Roddy played 32 minutes, 9, 6 and 4 on 21%. This man needs to be banished. There's no way he's an NBA rotation guy. While Biyombo played 24 minutes for 3 and 6. He's not a 12-teamer. And they just don't want to play Xavier Tillman. Starting center legend from the playoffs last season. Began the season as the starter here as well. And was a DNP CD on this garbage nonsense team. I don't get it. You're obviously dropping Xavier Tillman in 10 and 12 and probably 14. But this rotation continues to be confusing every single game. And you get this mix and match of Aldama, Vince Williams, Zaya Williams, David Roddy, John Concha, Jake LaRavia, Jalen Noel, who played 8 minutes in this one. You cannot work it out game by game, and you just don't bother in most scenarios. For the Rockets, let's talk about Tari this season. 27 minutes, 25 and 14 with 3 threes, a steal and a block. The question's always going to be, how did he get there? And again, it's one of those things where I'm going to look at it and be a little frustrated trying to figure it out. But another game of bad Jalen Green. 24 minutes for Green, so more minutes for Eason. Şengün struggled as well, 24 minutes. The Green one, I can actually see happening of him just playing low minutes now and enabling Eason to get out there. So if Tari Eason is available, with Green, with him looking, again, just tending a little bit towards him, although he only played, what did he play? I think 9 minutes in the first half, Eason, so not a huge amount, but just rolled the entire fourth quarter. That's also another thing where it just may not happen next game. But Green's had chances. He started this whole time. He's not putting up big numbers. If I had Green in a 12, and I think I do, I'd drop him for Eason. I don't have supreme confidence in Eason because, again, there was no Amen Thompson in this game. Şengün played probably 9 to 13 minutes fewer than he usually does. And Green played only 24 minutes. But maybe that's just what they're going to do. Eason's very dynamic. He's very good, and I'm glad they're doing it. I just still don't have full clarity on it. 20 and 10 for Jabari Smith. Fred VanVleet. Are they back to steals? Another 3. That's 6 in the last 2 games. 11, 5, and 9 for him with the 3 steals. And Dylan Brooks had 11 points in 28 minutes. Still rostered in an obscene amount of leagues, Dylan Brooks. Please do not do that. You don't need to roster him in 12s. As for Jalen Green, I am working the button a lot because it's back. But Jalen Green, I am so sorry, in a category league.
Get that garbage out of here.
I talked about him actually this morning on the waiver wire show. And I said, I reckon you drop him in a category league. I reckon that sort of fence sitting from me earlier on, I'm definitely more on the side of just, no, we don't. It's just pointless. He might be better, but what's the upside and how much bullshit do we have to go through to get there? 8, 4, and 4 on 17% in 24 minutes for Jalen Green. We also got Jayshawn Tate back to 23 minutes, 10, 7, and 3. But the Eason thing is by far the most interesting thing in this game, and we probably do roll with that. That is a super encouraging sign, even if he played like 8, 9 minutes in the first half, which could have ended up being a bad performance, or just 18 minutes, which would have further tied into that, how does he get enough playing time? But he ended up with the minutes he needed, and the performance was awesome. All right, the next game. Wow, the Bucks did not let up, did they? 140 Milwaukee, 126 Indiana. Miles Turner, 33 minutes. We love to see that. 22 and 9 with a block. We only got 31 minutes out of Halliburton. 22, 5, and 7. Probably went a little bit under there on Halliburton, but whatever. For deeper leagues, you're going to want to look at Timothy John McConnell. 9, 5, 5, 2 steals. In fact, on low-volume 12-team leagues, or low-volume days for 12-team leagues, that's useful. Isaiah Jackson had his 2 blocks. He's also streamable when you need those block numbers. And then Ben Mathurin did not back up what he did last time. Now, there are a couple of things to look at with Mathurin because it starts off looking good, 14 points. But remember, 18 points is average in a 12-team league. 1 rebound, 1 assist, no threes, no steals, no blocks, 25%. But then we get bright again. 10 of 10 from the line. We love that. I don't think that Mathurin's a 12-team league player. Obert Toppin, he fouled out 5 and 7. He is a very, very, very aggressive jack-off.
Get that garbage out of here.
Well, Bud Hield struggled as well, 7 points in 27 minutes. I would hold Buddy, while Brucey Brown had 9, 8, and 9 with 2 steals. Nothing super sexy there. In a 10-team league, I don't think you need to hold on to Bruce Brown. The Shark can probably stay in a 12, and that's about it. But for the Bucks, we've got to talk about Giannis. Because what is this? 37. They put the foot down. They were not happy about something. The in-season tournament, I'm guessing. They just put the foot down. Giannis just dropped the casual 64 with 14 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals, 1 block. Went 71 from the field. Oh, yeah. And he went 24 of 32 from the line at 75%. Now, the problem for us there with fantasy is that actually is a huge negative. I know that 75 is great for Giannis. But on that volume, it is a massive, massive negative for fantasy. We don't really care, though. We know we're punting free throws. 29 minutes for Christopher Middleton. 14, 9, and 7. Hey, just on Giannis, by the way. Without punting, third-ranked player over the last 2 weeks. In category leagues. Points leagues, like he's top 4 now. The knee surgery that he had in the offseason obviously helped fix a lot of problems. Lillard struggling a bit with some of his efficiency, but 21, 4, and 6. Well, Brook Lopez, what a weird line. 6 and 3 in 33 minutes. Brook, what are you doing to me? 17% shooting. Dreadful. 6 shots. Useless. Oh, yeah, and 6 blocks. He's obviously come down from where he was the number 2 player for a stretch of time, which was never going to hold. Bringing those blocks is still nice, but he's been a little bit inconsistent with the offensive stuff. Your mate Punch Bob was trying to throw punches in this one. 23 minutes in 19 points. That's a great start to a line, yeah, but 2 rebounds, no free throws, no steals, no blocks, 2 assists. He is not a 12-team league player.
Get that garbage out of here.
Oh, I'm going to overuse Jack so much today. I do apologize. It's been a long time, man. It's been a long time. I got to get him out there. Leaky Beasley only had 7 points, but he did have 2 steals and a block. I do think Leaky remains a 12-team league guy, but again, he's one of those players that's sitting there and you go, well, all right, maybe should I try Tari Eason? Do I want to take a flyer on the come bucket? Look, maybe. I wouldn't have a problem with moving on from Leaky because there's always going to be those guys that you can stream into that spot. He's been on fire. We don't expect that to continue. But let's just try some other things. You don't have to, but you can. And yeah, that's, I think, a good way of looking at it. Was it you might miss out a little bit, but let's just try something to see where the opportunity rises to us or what can happen. I don't know why I said rises to us. That's not a real phrase. We just need to look at it and go, he's been great. Is it real? Probably not. Is he worth a hold? In some situations, yes. In some, no. It's why providing blanket advice gets really, really tough for me doing this show. So poor you, Josh. I know. But it can get tough because there are so many individual circumstances that we need to take into consideration and address. All right. We do the next game, the second last game of the day, the Knicks and the Jazz. The Jazz, big victory. The Knicks they had a furious comeback, didn't end up getting there in the end. 117 Utah, 113 to the Knicks. Julius Randle put up some really good numbers. After a really slow start to the season, he's been strong, top 20 over the last 2 weeks, 32, 12, and 6. 61% shooting, that probably signals a sell high, but good numbers. Good game from the big Ragu. 27 minutes for Dante DiVincenzo. 21 and 7, 4 threes and 4 steals. That is very interesting. His last 2 games, he's been non-existent. 24 usage is something to take note of. How was he able to do that? Well, it wasn't because Randall or Brunson took a step back. It was because he just was good. And that's intriguing. I wouldn't say that's 100% a must add, because again, we've had 2 bad ones and 1 good one, but it at least puts it on the radar. Quickly returned. He had 15 points in 18 minutes. That's strong, but the minutes are low. But what we wanted to check was, what did this mean for Josh Hart? 0 points, 29 minutes, 0 of 5 shooting. Yeah, I don't think he's a must-roster player. There's just too much inconsistency there. Quentin Grimes, also with quickly back, had 2 points in 16 minutes. We're obviously not adding him. And the man that we very, very clearly need to jack off, Canadian legend, Rowan Barrett Jr.
Get that garbage out of here.
9 points in 24 minutes, 19% shooting. No steals, no blocks, no threes, 2 assists. Yeah, absolutely not a 12-team category guy at all. What about the center spot? 18 minutes to Jericho Sims, 29 minutes to Isaiah Hartenstein. Now, Hartenstein wasn't awesome, 7 and 6 with a block, but we definitely still hold in 12s, while we only look at Sims in very deep leagues. I see Sims as 4% rostered in 12-team leagues. That seems a lot. 4 and 2 for him, while Brunson had 23, 7 and 8. Just some bad shooting. 69% from the line, giggity, for Brunson, and 32 from the field. Really, really stinks. For the Jazz, they were without Collins and Clarkson. And then the speaker, Keynote George, left early. He was scoreless in his 4 minutes. George, it was like a non-contact foot ankle injury. Colin Sexton post-game said, yeah, he's okay. I don't know how much to take out of that. But what I do know is that I just don't drop George just yet. I can now slot him into injured spot unless you play in an archaic league with only IL and no IL+, which is a benefit, but I don't think this is significantly long-term. They went with a lineup that I didn't expect. They didn't start O'Shea Abaji. They benched him. He played 30 minutes and had 5 points. He's not very good. They started Colin Sexton, and with Clarkson out, if they're going to start Sexton, we add him. 26, 4, and 7, 30 minutes, we add Colin Sexton if that's what's going to happen. Chrissy Dunn got rotation minutes with George hurt, 10 points, 7 assists. Keep an eye on that. That's a deeper league one for now, but it might be interesting. While Markkanen returned, he was on somewhat of a restriction, 23 and 8, and they started Olynyk at center over Kessler. 9, 10, and 8 for Kelly, which 20 or 30 minutes for Kelly Olynyk's a 12-team guy. They play again tomorrow as well. Wouldn't mind stream there. We also got 20 minutes out of Taylor Hendricks, largely because Johnny Collins is out, but it's something to watch for later in the season. And for deeper leagues, he had 2 steals and a block. And Kessler had 9 and 8 with 3 blocks. Been a gigantic disappointment, not as disappointing as the fool in Washington, but he's been disappointing if you were able to grab him, or if you did grab him high. We could consider, I guess, if George misses an ad of Taylor Horton-Tucker. He had 15, 4, and 3 in 24 minutes. You know that there's going to be some brutalization of percentages. But if he's going to start again, then that does make him somewhat worthwhile as an opportunity stream. Maybe. I'm not super into it, but I'd much prefer to add a Sexton or an Olynyk for tomorrow. But again, they play again tomorrow, so Horton-Tucker is, unfortunately, on the menu. Let's go to the final game of the day. It was the Brooklyn Nets. 116 go into Phoenix to take on the Big Three, and they beat them. 116, 112. Cam Johnson. Here we go. I know a lot of people have been down on Cam. 15, 5, and 4, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 3 threes. Good. Bang. Let's go. Speaking of Cams that we've been down on, what about Cam Thomas? He didn't start off particularly well, but he did get going. The line is pretty good. And what I like about this is 24 points is great. 35% shooting isn't. 36 usage is, again, troubling. But 8 of 8 from the line. He had 4 assists, and he hit 4 threes, and he got a steal and a block. We talked at length this morning on the preview show saying that he was averaging 4.3 combined rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. He had 8 here. It's a big difference. That makes a world of difference. So that's encouraging. He stays on our rosters. Dinwiddie, another strong game, 16, 8, and 7, sort of defying some of my expectations at the moment. While Claxton played poorly early, but ended up with 14 and 7. Bridges lost a lot of that efficiency, which was driving him into the top 15. He shot 37%. He's obviously going to be better than that. 21, 3, and 2. And Finney-Smith and O'Neal continue to just do little things to chip away. 8 and 4 for O'Neal. It's not great. 4 assists is nice. Finney-Smith had 8 and 6 with 2 steals. Not great. Again, just little bits and pieces. Like I said, the Suns, they had the big 4 in, but there was no Eric Gordon and Grayson Allen. Booker had 34, 6, and 12 and played 40 minutes and was great at the line. 26 usage, pretty good. Durant, 27, 6, and 4. 1 steal, 2 blocks, 38 minutes. Great. Bradley Beal, unbelievably played on a back-to-back and played 34 minutes. 14, 1, and 4. Shot really well. I do think, and I said this all along through the preseason, that the third guy in the Big Three is usually the one who takes the big hit, and the other 2 guys are usually fine, or relatively fine. I'm not making a sweeping judgment here, but it does line up with what I thought. Also a huge game from Nurkic. 15 and 22 with 2 blocks. That's a huge game. They started Chimezie Metu in the first half, but went to Nasir Little in the second. That could easily be Allen or Gordon or Kogi, who all missed this game. So we still don't have full clarification around the Big Three, or Big 3.5 if you want to include Nurk in there, or 4.5 if you're going to include Bol. But there's always going to be these back and forwards with a bunch of these guys. We had 27 minutes of Jordan Goodwin, didn't do anything. And those 3 players, when they do return, are going to come in there and create some sort of an impact for Goodwin, making him not any use to us. So that is the games. 9 of them done. Let us move on now and do a recap of the stream of the day. Not a particularly strong stream of the day here. 10 teams was Caleb Martin, 9, 6, and 4 with a block. That's a little bit of a fart. The 12-teamer was Kyle Lowry. Actually, that one's good. 17 points, 2 rebounds, 2 steals, and an assist. And the 14-teamer for Big Dick Nick Richards is actually pretty good too. Maybe I'm selling myself short. 6 and 10 with 4 blocks for Nick. I guess it's the next page. It looks pretty rough. The 16-teamer was Nick Batum. He didn't really do anything. 5, 1, and 2. The Yahoo points was Caleb Martin, who had 21 fantasy points, and the ESPN points was Caleb Martin, who had 15. I still, think Caleb is worth holding, especially with a game tomorrow, but obviously it was not particularly strong here in this one. What does that bring us to? Well, it brings us to the lines of the night. We'll start with the monstrous line of the night, and I don't think you get any prizes whatsoever for knowing that it is Giannis Antetokounmpo, with a little bit of controversy at the end of the game, which I didn't touch on earlier, where they stole his game ball, and they said, well, Ricardo said misunderstanding. We took it because Oscar Tshiebwe scored his first point. We wanted there, and Giannis was storming down the tunnel trying to get the ball back. I think it's all okay. 64 points, 14 rebounds, and 4 steals there for Giannis with a huge performance. The waiver wire line of the night, the best performer available in over 50% of leagues. We are going to head. We're going to head to Houston for this one and give it to Tari this season. 25 points, 14 rebounds, and a block. We love what he can do. We grab him. I actually featured him on the waiver wire show earlier today, talking about we just see what happens. I'm still not 100% convinced. 9 minutes in the first half is not a great sign. Does Jalen Green stay at 24 minutes a night? Not sure. Does Şengün play only 24 minutes a night? Almost definitely not. And all those added to Eason getting these minutes. But we just add and we just see what happens. Again, not convinced on it, but we add and we see. The young gun of the night. If there was no prizes for guessing the waiver wire line or the monstrous line of the night, there is absolutely none for guessing who the best player was in their first or second season. It's Victor Wembanyama. 30 points, 13 rebounds, 6 blocks. He hit threes. He got steals. He did everything. He was amazing. And then lastly, we want to rack up and look at who is the dud of the night. This man, over the course of his storied career, has many of these, and his name is Rowan Barrett. 9 points, 6 rebounds, 19% shooting, and one of the biggest jack-offs of all time onto your waiver wire in 12-team leagues. So let's go in and give a bit of a checklist here to wrap it up. What are we doing? We're adding Tari Eason. I think we're adding Colin Sexton, especially with the game tomorrow. I think we can speculatively look at Bilal Coulibaly. I'm not going to include the Warriors guys. I talked about them as ads yesterday. This is more just for games that happen today. We can speculatively look at Bilal. I think we're very clearly dropping Isaiah Stewart, and I think Zach Collins is a drop. I could put RJ Barrett in that list as well, but I think that these are probably the bigger takeaways out of today's bunch of games. That's what I'm looking with that. And that is the end of today's show. I was going to tell you that we need to hit 70K, but I don't actually need to do that because we've hit it. The next one's 100. Can we get 100 by the end of this week? No, of course we can't. But thank you for subscribing to everybody. It is a great way to make sure. If you hit the notification bell as well, you'll also get told when we go. And there are live shows. There's a mailbag tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern. Plenty of shows always coming up. You're well aware of that. So hit that notification bell. Leave your comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.